and informal research studies. So Cathi, we're excited to have you. With that, I'll ask you to take over screen sharing and get us started.
All right. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Good, good. I was going to propose, since no one's driving, we could, whatever you're drinking, if it's water or coffee or wine or whiskey, every time I say research, drink. There we go.
Well, my husband has already delivered me a second round, so
all right. Well, thank you so much, Allison. I'm really happy to be here with you, and I welcome any questions or conversations after the event today. Please do reach out anytime. Exposure is key to evidence-based decision-making for product teams, and why speculate about the people we're building and designing for. Our teams need a deep understanding of their needs, of our users' needs and their environments. One big challenge we all have is balancing stakeholder goals with users' needs. And this is often one of the first UX problems we need to solve for. What is great UX at scale? Great UX means serving those stakeholders' goals and user needs simultaneously. How do we do it? Through strategic research. One thing we know for sure is good user experience equals good business 1,000% of the time. Every dollar invested is a 1,000% ROI. According to Jacob Nielsen, this is a great quote, quality assurance impacts the user experience. When things don't work, users question their understanding and they develop superstitions and very inefficient workarounds. And here I've linked to a couple of good articles, so those of you who want to learn more. What is the value and impact of our work when we embed research and usability exposure? Well, for our product teams, we can avoid feature bloat. We can create delightful experiences while solving problems we were not aware existed. We get one source of truth for all, proactive with problem solving rather than reactive. We can unlock what users really want, and we can improve the general usability of our work. Embedded research and design provides impact and value for stakeholders too. Some of the value that it provides to stakeholders are freeing up internal resources, improving onboarding and conversion rates. They can sleep better at night knowing they have happy customers, unlock ways to upgrade sales or even find reoccurring sales or new business opportunities, impress your friends and colleagues, and everyone will thank you for the work you're doing. And best of all, outperform the competition. There are many different research methods and tactics at our fingertips. For this talk, I'll shed some light on just one of our favorite tactics. I'll also share some a great common sense formula for all members of a product team. We are all making design decisions together, and we want to empower our teams with evidence-based decision-making resources. And just enough research is the key. The semi-structured informal research study is lean and flexible. It's great to use at any stage of a project. Prepared questions and tasks are part of the format. A facilitator can spend more or less time on interview questions if they're gaining useful insights. It pairs very nicely with exposure or observable usability testing. We always want to expose our software to users with a method that will deliver the most impact for our efforts. We are not testing users. We are testing our software. For example, let's review some insights from recent work at XWP. Unsplash has a new VIP plugin for WordPress, and it adds their entire searchable Unsplash image library to the WordPress dashboard. It's right where editors need it to easily and freely publish beautiful and performant high-quality content from the media library. The Unsplash plugin is currently in an alpha state, and we are launching an early access program as we speak. This project was kicked off with a useful, informal, semi-structured research study. This work clearly unlocked critical user journeys through publishing media and much more for us. When we embed this design research into our workflows, the deliverables we get are extremely useful as well. This work provided us with Unsplash useful iterative ways to build and ship user-centric product solutions. By focusing on the critical user journeys, we were also able to provide solutions for both the classic editor and the transformative block editor experience. Here's an example of a deliverable. This is a journey map we drafted in an early phase of engagement with the Google AMP project. These deliverables are great for facilitating important conversations with engineering teams and stakeholders alike. Flow diagrams are also very useful for helping teams to remove unnecessary complexities in their customer communication channels, their onboarding flows, etc. Because we've done just enough of the right research, we can make impact for both our users or customers as well as our stakeholders. Marketing directors and their teams benefit hugely from this kind of tactical work. Each study has a set of primary questions that our teams need to unlock answers for. Additionally, there are also 2 parts to a semi-structured research study. It's good to point out that fully remote teams can employ this research method to surface any evidence of existing friction and to gain usability insights. This format includes flexible probing and unbiased questions, and it's good to use this format early and reoccurring as needed in an agile project. Part 1 is interviews. Users' needs, motivations, and environments are unlocked here. It's amazing how often teams lack awareness about who they are designing and building for and what the environments or circumstances their users or trying to use their products are in. We start by identifying personas, user groups, and scenarios for our teams before writing the guidelines. We always include feedback from the stakeholders as well. Often they have questions and needs, or they need insights regarding customers' motivations, their behaviors and desires. So we always do that as one of our steps. Part 2 of the study is exposure. Observable sessions, we can unlock behaviors and friction. Again, we are not testing users, we are testing our software. Often our goal is to shorten tool time and increase goal time while surfacing the evidence of friction in their current experience. It's important to carefully select the tasks you need validation for or insights with when you design your study. And last but not least for the study is the findings. We have to synthesize and analyze the findings that we unlock. Data from our recorded sessions is collected, synthesized, and sorted. Then we present our findings to teams so we can prioritize our work together and make evidence-based decisions for our projects. A slide deck is often created and issues and roadmaps receive some adjustments. Here is the formula I promised. High-performance teams working at scale benefit from this practice and this formula. This is a key takeaway for product teams. And this is how it works. Every member of the product team dedicates 2 hours of direct exposure with users every 6 weeks. So anybody who's working on a project dedicates 2 hours direct exposure to their work every 6 weeks. Totally doable. But what does this mean? It means actively observing through screen sharing or when possible sitting with people in real time so users can show you how they work to accomplish tasks using our software. We need to be able to ask them questions in a setting like this, and we need to be able to observe them working as they talk to us to truly understand how usable our work is. Although XWP has been fully remote company since its inception, In the past, we did conduct informal research studies at conferences like WordCamp US. We kicked off the Unsplash project with a series of sessions at WordCamp US, and that helped us understand users' behaviors, and we got a lot of needed clarity. The field research tactic helped us to unlock important information about the critical user journeys as people publish media in their different scenarios. So I'll say it again. Every member of the team is making design decisions about what we ship, and they should dedicate at least 2 hours of exposure with users every 6 weeks. Okay, gains. We all recognize bad user experience immediately. However, when UX is working really well, we hardly notice it. Our tools just disappear and we simply accomplish our goals with ease. When our experience is friction-free, the UX can be invisible, but that does not mean it's not valuable. Key takeaways: UX is a user-centric approach to designing and building products. It's embedded in every experience and interaction we share as humans. And it's a shared responsibility to ensure we create secure, performant, and accessible awesomeness for the world. I thank you for this opportunity to share some UX strategies and tactics. Obviously really love this and geek out on it really a lot. So I'd love to take any questions or receive any feedback.
Absolutely, we do have questions. The first question is, do you have a recommendation on the sample size for a semi-structured study, like the kind that you're
Yeah, it depends. Sure, it depends on how many different personas or scenarios or user groups you're going to be studying. I like to limit it to, like, as often as possible, I like to limit it to 2 or 3 different user groups, and 3 being a lot. So in that case, maybe a dozen or so. You'll get a feel for it as you're going through the study if you need to pick up a couple more because you weren't getting the insights you needed, or you realized there was a flaw in the study and you want to make a shift. These are very lean, agile ways of working. But if you're just studying one particular scenario or user group, you can, 5 or 6 is often just fine.
How do you so most people here are either billing client time or working at a big corporation where they have specific sprints that they have to meet. And so how do you, especially someone that is billing client time, how do you justify that to a client that you need time to do this?
Well, it is important that it is prioritized into the work, because ultimately the ROI is, like I said, 1,000%. So the work we produce is better, it iterates faster. People genuinely enjoy working on projects where the research is good. And we have to, because there isn't always enough buy-in as designers and researchers, sometimes we have to work kind of dun, 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 dun. We have to like zoom in and get it done really fast and, make it look like, oh, that was really nothing, when it's a lot of work. Does that make sense?
What do you think? Yes, absolutely. I'm distracted by your musical voice.
Sorry.
No. What are the top 2 or 3 upcoming or future trends are you seeing in user experience? Like, what do you think's around the corner?
Wow, I think that we're at the precipice of a complete revolution. Like at the, think about the impact the printing press made on our society. I think voice is going to be huge. I'm speechless. Hope I live long enough to see like the next few years, because it's going to be amazing.
Do you have any specifics about the revolution that we should be excited?
Well, I think that a lot of technology needs to reach more of the globe. So we have a lot of access where I live, and I'm afforded a lot of this particular utility for my life and for my family's life. And I think that globally, seeing those kinds of resources and utilities reach places around the globe that are lacking that type of privilege will be important, A. But B, also voice activation and like device-free experiences. I don't know, my eyes are wide open. I think it's a whole new frontier of lifestyle and communications.
Two more questions. So what is the typical timeline for delivery of this UX exercise and research?
Well, there are a lot of different types of research studies, focus groups, structured research studies. This is a semi-structured informal. So it's the most lean and agile. So for that type of study, it's nice to have 3 weeks to execute it. You have to write the guidelines, you have to conduct it, and then you have to synthesize it. So maybe even 5 weeks, depending on how large the study is and how much you're testing.
Perfect. And then do you have any suggestions on how to move user research away from the desk and the desktop computer and more into the context of how people actually use tech?
Well, that's what exposure is and observable. You want to experience what you want to be able to ask questions. You want to be in a situation where the person can be talking out loud and you can be asking questions and observing. If you're observing someone on a screen and they pause, you don't know if they're just pausing or if they're going, what the heck? This makes no sense to me. So it's really important to have that like real experience of observing and exposing your work the way it's being used. And that's sometimes challenging, especially now.
And then we have one more question that I really do want to get to is back to your presentation. Can you give us an example of one of the findings and how it impacted your work?
From the case study from the Unsplash project?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the findings we found is that the most common way people, it may seem like just common sense, but the most common way people are using an image when they're publishing is just as an afterthought. And me as a visual designer, I just like, I can't even believe it's an afterthought, the image. But they do, they write their content and then they're like, I gotta have an image. And they just wanna get it in there and publish it. And that is like the most critical user journey. Make it easy, make it performant, don't make me have to go a lot of places. And they care about it being beautiful, but that was a surprise to me. And whenever I do a study, no matter how well I think I know a project or an industry or a use case or a scenario, there are things I don't know. And it's amazing to me that that's true all the time.
That's really inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And just to answer a couple of questions that we saw in the chat, we are going to be sending both Matthias and Cathy's slides to everybody that's here today. So don't worry. Don't worry that the link that you couldn't